Hey everybody, welcome back to Success Secrets Revealed. And today we have another great guest with you. We've already had two great guests today. We had Colby Kay and we had Forbes Riley, two amazing guests for you. And all the guests are going to be up on YouTube, my social media feeds, all over my websites, and wherever they decide to post them as well. Today we have Dani Rocco, and she is amazing. Let me tell you, she helped change my life a couple of years ago, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that. First, I want to talk to you about the show itself, how it was created and why, introduce our sponsor, and then I'm going to read Dani's bio. So the show itself came about. I have a radio show on WCAP 980 AM, a real radio show weekly, every week from 11 to 12. But because of COVID, they stopped manning the station live. So instead of, and then they were just taking older episodes and then just running them, rerunning them, replaying them. So I knew that this time was different than any other time, and as much value as those episodes had, I knew that now we needed to have current updated issues and listen to talk to people now with what was going on. So I pivoted. I'm doing these lives, taking the audio, sending it to the radio station. So they're still going to get fresh, updated content, but also all our listeners via social media will get it from my fan base as well as our guests. So no guest gets paid to be on this show. No guest pays to be on this show. I don't get paid to do this show. Everybody's here to just give away and just try to help whoever happens to listen to us live or in the rerun. We do have to pay the bills, so we have one sponsor. So we keep it totally, everybody can come on because there's only one sponsor. And that's my company, RCS Online Solutions, where we help business owners and entrepreneurs, much like you, attract, convert, and retain their ideal customers and clients to achieve even greater success. The bottom line is you can have the best products, the best services, and the best solutions, but if people can't find you when they're searching for that product, service, or solution, then they're not even going to be able to consider you, never mind hire you. If you Google your name or your website and you come up, I'm here to tell you, so what? People aren't searching for you that way. If they know your name and your company and what you do, they're calling you, right? So you want to come up for whatever the service, product, or solution is. So you type in your service, product, or solution. If you're not on the first page, you need to call me. I'll get you ranked before you even pay me a penny. So now we're going to bring on Dani Rocco. First, I want to read her bio. And yes, I'm going to do this. Glasses. Dani Rocco is a mother, wife, and lifelong entrepreneur. Growing up as a professional ballerina, developed her commitment and dedication to everything that life has to offer. As an adult, her athletic skills transferred and assisted in her becoming a successful business owner. At the age of 18, she started working for her family's gymnastics school and took the company from bankruptcy to financial abundance. The school maxed out its students' capacity very quickly. After 23 years of being the CEO, Dani left her family business to follow her passion as a life coach and relationship expert. She started working with CEOs, but soon realized her heart and mission was serving our military and veterans. She is also an author of Devoted to a Soldier and co-author with Les Brown of Own Your Dreams and One Habit, Online Academy, Next Level of You, TV show host, documentary producer, Devoted to a Soldier, speaker, and a life insurance specialty. And her URLs will be in the descriptions below there, DaniRocco.com and the like. So let me bring on Dani now. Ta-da!
Yay!
That's the clap track.
Yay, I'll take it.
Hey, I'm going to really have to get one and just press the button. You have those buttons that says stop or it's easy or something from Staples, right? We're going to have to get one of those. But Dani, I've known you for a long time. You've helped me out a couple of times, and I've seen you at many events. Your bio was interesting, but I know that there are so many more facets to you. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Oh, okay. So I'm a very eclectic person. It's a little bit of, and a very faith-based person. So where God puts on my heart, that is what I go. And that is how I have developed this career that I never thought I would have. So yes, I ran a family business for 24 years. I was a good Italian daughter. I did exactly what was expected, took care of the family. But there came a turning point when my brother and I said, you know what, we can no longer live our father's dream for him. It's time for us to, see where life is going to take us, where God is going to take us. So goodness gracious, maybe 3-4 years ago, we left, and it's been a journey ever since. I started coaching CEOs, like Ron said, and loved it, but it was very high demanding. It was, I have 6 children, I'm married, and the CEOs would say, like, I need you across the country tomorrow. And I was like, awesome, this is an adventure. And my husband and kids were like, where are you going? What are you doing? So you have to create that balance in life. And that is how I started working with the military.
Wow, nice. And that's how I met you, when you were doing all the traveling and all the different shows. And a mutual friend who has the best name I've ever met was Yorata.
Yorata. She's my I was just talking to her this morning, actually.
Oh, she is amazing. Great personality, wonderful person. I mean, you can just feel the goodness coming from her, but she also has one of the coolest names I've ever heard. Yorata.
Well, she says it a lot sexier than we do. Okay, let's put that out there.
That's true. And I wonder what the correct pronunciation is, but anyhow, I think it's a cool name. And she does some amazing designs. Her and her sister, they have their own company out of, I think they're in Miami now. They used to be West Palm Beach, right? And so that's good stuff. But so that's how I met you. And you gave me some great advice, relationship advice. And I just told you a second ago offline that September 2nd will be our 2-year anniversary. So thank you very much for that. Not everything has been perfect, but, getting over that bump to even start the relationship is how you helped me. I got so much bad advice from relationship coaches. And what really dawned on me after a while was that the relationship coaches I was listening to, most of them were divorced multiple times and were single, never had a successful relationship. And I'm like, what the hell kind of advice you going to give me, girl? You know what I mean? And so when I started talking to you, it was just rapid fire, and it was just straight talk. It wasn't something I wanted to hear. It wasn't something. It was just straight up info, and I agreed with it. I utilized it, and things worked. So I want to thank you publicly for that.
Well, you are so welcome. And like you said, there is no relationship out there that is smooth sailing. There are times when you're like, I'm not sure if I can do this. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be living? I mean, that's called normal relationships. And I think sometimes people don't talk about that.
Nice. So good for you. Now, do you still do any type of relationship coaching, or are you all working with the vets now?
I do, but it's more referral based. So if someone says, I want you to talk to this person, it's still up on my website. I still do qualifying calls, but my majority of my work is with the military and our veterans. But if someone reaches out, I always say, or someone refers something to me, who is it to me to be like, no? So I open it up. We have the problem, we solve it, and boom, we're done.
All right. Well, I have a request.
Okay.
You guys have a great boat, and I see you guys touring all the time. Sometimes I see you in Florida. Sometimes I see you up here. I wonder, do you go from here all the way down to Florida, or do you transport it?
No. So like the boat now is in Florida. So we will drive it on land, like tow it to Florida.
Yeah.
And then from Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, we'll go to the Keys and things like that.
I love it. You got to let me, I got to go with you one of these times, man. Because I used to see you had it up here before. So Florida's kind of a hike. But if
we have a boat up here too. We have a boat here too.
Yeah, if you ever go on a boat ride up in Hampton Beach area, you know, I'm only like 35 minutes away. You know, I can be there. I can take an Uber if I have to. But
No,
please tell us what you're doing with the veterans now. I mean, it's amazing, and it's kind of cliche, but at the end of the day, all the freedoms and everything we have is because of what the veterans have provided us with the safe borders, or they fought the wars so others wouldn't come to our shores, and then it's not just them, but it's also their families who are also sacrificing. So there's so many layers. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do with the veterans?
Sure. Well, it's a funny story. And I say, we always have the answers within us. Sometimes we just need someone to kick us in the butt to, ignite those answers. So when I left the CEOs, a good friend of mine said, "What do you do that nobody knows that you do, Danielle?" And I was like, "Oh, well, it's always been serving our military. My son is a Marine veteran, and it changed my life." That's how the book came about. That's how the documentary came about. And that is now what I do. So now I go around the country. I'll start back up in September because I had to take a little hiatus with this COVID stuff going on. But I support other nonprofits that are out there. So I bring a voice. I do interviews. I am creating another documentary around that to bring the resources out to people. So right now, when I'm not traveling, I have a show Monday through Thursday, a live interactive show, and on Thursday nights to basically bring inspiring, unique, intriguing individuals that I have been blessed to cross my path, share their story. How did they get there? How did their life's challenges and their crap bring them into their abundance now? And it's stories you might not want to hear. It's stories that might trigger things within you, but it's the reality. So yes, I still do coaching. I do private groups with the military. I picked up my insurance license because FYI, most veterans don't have life insurance. So I picked that up to be a resource. You pick up tools along the way. I think that's very important as a developing entrepreneur and business person. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I am strong TV host and veteran advocate.
I love it. And as your TV host, you interview people. Now, is this in addition to our daily dose of Dani?
Yeah, so my daily dose of Dani is down to like 1 or 2 days. But I tell you, it is what is on my heart and my reality in that moment. Very raw, very real, just kind of, I think, Ron, that's how I roll in life. You get what you see.
Yep. And it was funny. But now, so daily dose of Dani is it's not daily, it's weekly, or it's whenever.
Yeah. I give it written every single day, but the verbiage, I mean, how much can people hear from me? How much do you want to see this face? Balance.
True. And there is some level of balance in life. But all right, so that's excellent. So how can people if they wanted to maybe be considered to be a guest on your show or help you with what you're doing with the veterans, how can they learn a little bit more about all that?
Well, first, if you check out my page, if you just go to any of my social media feeds, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm kind of sucky on Twitter. Gonna just say that right out. So might not be the strongest one, but you'll see what I do. You'll hear the interviews. You'll see the people that I'm interviewing. And then, of course, my website, Dani Rocco, spelt right there on the screen because I am a female. So you got to know the female version of how to spell it. But DaniRocco.com, shoot me a text, shoot me a message. I am all about collaboration. I do not know everything in this world. So I love hearing from people. And if you're interested in being on the show, just reach out. If it aligns, it aligns.
I love it. Now, is your middle name Donatello?
It's Datilio.
Datilio. Hey, do you know, yesterday I went to the Oyster House in Boston. I just went on a walk.
Love.
Yeah, I had such a great time, and they let me walk around the building. Who knew that that place was so huge? And you go upstairs, and I went to the whole like left side. I thought that was all it, and then my girlfriend wanted to go up, so we went up a second time. But then there was a whole right side, right, that went up, and it was, you know, like captain. I mean, these like different rooms. I assume you can reserve, but it was amazing. And that building is also that's the oldest restaurant in the country, continuously run, but that's also the oldest building. And at least in the city, I don't know about the country, but so I mean, I just touching the brick is from like the 1700s. I mean, to me, it was amazing. And I walked around, I took a ton of pictures. But after that, I went to the North End, and I saw Mike's Pastry, and that's where, you know, so many people tell you to go, right? But right next door to it was a place called Catalina Cafe or something. And so we just sat down there and had some coffee and a cannoli, right? And and authentic. And then when I went to Taggart, it was the first Italian cafe in Boston. So wow! So I had two firsts yesterday.
Two for your newbie in Boston. Who would have known? Been there forever.
Yep. And so I got your name going on down there, and it was so funny because the waitress, I don't know if she was, I asked her, I says, you know, this cannoli, I says, you know, I wanted to write down, you know, espresso and, you know, coffee and cannoli. I said, would I put down because it's so good, would I put down forget about it, or should I put down cabiche? And she goes, well, you can't put down forget about it because you got to go like that. You can't do that on a post. You got to put down capisci. So, but she actually wrote it for me. She took the phone and wrote it for me. So if you look on my post, you'll see it. But she was so friendly and so nice.
I gotta check that out. So if you go to Italy, they would pronounce my name Daniele Datilio Rocco. You come to America, and you know we Americanized, and it's just Daniele Datilio Rocco. Not very sexy anymore.
Can you say it the Italian way?
Yeah. Daniele Datilio Rocco.
Nice.
You got to do the body. You got to do all of that.
Yeah, good for you. And so you've written some books, and you've worked with Les Brown as well.
Yeah. So that the first book, you know, I did all by myself. I did it. And then Les Brown, they asked me if I would be a contributing author. So I was like, yes, because how many times and years have I listened to Les Brown and his motivation, and just to even be asked to be part of that, I was, you know, kind of blown away. So I went through the process, and I have a chapter in the book with a bunch of other amazing co-authors, and we went out to LA and we met him, and we did all of these. It was great because they did you got to learn from him and his daughter, Dr. Ona. So it was cool. It wasn't just putting your name on the book and saying, hey, I did this with this really awesome legend. You got to interact and learn and from them. So it was very, very cool experience. I
love it. Les Brown is like him and Jim Rohn I listen to almost every day. And Jim Rohn I love, he's great. But Les Brown I feel more connected to because he's more kind of like city-ish, and that's how I grew up, you know what I mean? And so I love Les Brown. And I met him. I was blessed to meet with him, and I spoke on a stage with him when we were in LA. We were at that event after the Oscars a couple of years ago, right? Or was it last February? A year ago, February. It seems like forever. But
is it already? Gosh, I don't know. Time is a blur in my world.
Yep, I think it was a year ago this last February, or it might have been 2 years ago. I don't know, but it was the first February that because Davi went with me. So if this is our 2-year anniversary, it might have been 2 years ago.
The other one.
Yeah, but wow, that's a flashback. And we had Ryan was there too. But anyhow, so I met him. He was at the restaurant, and I stalked him because I knew he was in the building, right? But I didn't know where he was going to speak or whatever. So I knew the layout because I had been there for a couple of days. So then I saw him took a selfie with somebody. So I knew that he was roughly, you know, between like the area where the restaurant was, and then there was a little walkway, and then there was an outside thing you go to where the event was. So I knew there was somewhere in there. So boom, I was down the stairs. I was just searching for, and I found him. He was in the restaurant. I went over right away, and I paid for his meal. He was having a meal with somebody else. I paid for it, and I asked him. I says, "Do you guys have sweet potato pie?" And the woman said no, because I know he always talked about his mother made it. Oh, I would have been so happy if I could have got him some sweet potato pie. But,
you know what? That is how it's supposed to be. When people look at people and they're like, how did they get to where they were? You know what they did? They just saw something and they did it. It didn't matter if the answer was no. Like, you were just so driven. I'm going to meet this man.
Yep.
And that was it. And I think when we do that, that is how we build success. That is how we get to the desires that we want. It's just, you put everything away. It's very black and white. You go, and that's it.
I love it. Yep.
And you move. Sometimes you got to do a little swerving along the way. But
and it was so funny because the event host was trying to sell spots, selfies with him, right? So he was trying to keep everybody at bay, right? So I knew, I says, well, the guy's got to eat. He's got to go to the bathroom. You know, sooner or later, I'm going to catch him by himself. You know what I mean?
See, there you go. That's the little swerving, the little that you got to do.
He's plus 70. You know, he ain't going to be too far from that bathroom for too long.
That's right.
I'll catch him on the way out the door.
You got to be smart. You got to think outside the box. You got to go for it.
Yep. And I told him, man, I got a picture of me. We were hugging, and we banged, bold bear hug, and he's huge. People might not realize it, but he is a big guy. And so we had a big bear hug, and then we got another selfie of me next to him. And I told him, I says, you're mine, Mr. Washington, because he helped me out tremendously. So congratulations for you to be in that book. And how did it feel writing your own book? I mean, that must have been somewhat of a challenge too, and an accomplishment.
It really was. I mean, both situations were, but when it's just your own, it's like, if it sucked, it sucked. It's all kind of me. And I'm a very, people can hear, it's just like, I'm just very to the point. You're not going to get like $100 words out of me. It's not how I speak. And I didn't want my book to come off as, anyone that knew me look at it and be like, Danielle, you did not write this. This is somebody else's. So it took a lot of like, yes, you have to take the, what is the word I'm looking for? The advice of other people when they you actually have to know your truth and what your mission is. Because if you don't, all of that advice you're going to think is gold, and you're going to forget. Wait a minute, that's not me. That's gold for them. You know, sometimes it might work, some things might not. So I think when we really know our truth, and this goes for life, but what kind of how my thoughts when I was writing is, this is my truth. This is what I want it to look like. This is the version or the vision that I see. I'm going to take the advice and apply what works. And not all of it. Some of it is great, but it's not appropriate for this moment in time.
I love it. And I think that's a really good distinction too, because, you know, we get so much advice from people. You seek mentorship, not advice. We can go all into that. But sometimes what we get is good sound advice, but that was good sound advice for them, and it might be for these people. So you kind of have to take it all and then just cherry pick and make your own way. I mean, first you have to get the advice in order to decipher it. So you got to put yourself in the room. You got to be available to hear it. But I like how you separated from that, you know, just because somebody's super successful at this point and they've given you some good advice, you know, that's their truth. Now, after everything that they've gone through, that might not be exactly how it's going to work for you. So you have to, you know, weigh that in. So I like the way that you distinguish that.
Yeah. And then people say, well, how do you know? And I'm like, well, what is your truth? Who are you? What is your mission? What do you believe? And when you become very clear of that, then it's easy to know what advice kind of fits. And when you're not, like, your ego isn't taking over, or the delusion of what you actually think you are is not kind of taking over, because there's that part of it. We think we're maybe more talented than we are. We think we're better looking than we are. And when that stuff
in my case,
we think we're a 10 and we're not. Or sometimes we think we're a 2 and we're not. We're a 10, you know? Yeah. So you really have to constantly be looking at what is my truth, get clarity there. So then you can actually apply advice that is good.
I love it. So good. We got probably about another 8 minutes or so, but I'd really like you to tell us, like, your mission with the vets is very important to you. Is there, and you know, to the world, I mean, because like I said, you know, we couldn't do what we do without them. Is there somehow, I mean, is there some way people could pay more attention to it? They could listen to you more, or be aware of what you're doing, take part in it, maybe possibly donate, or, you know, just anything?
Yeah, so every show that I have, I'm always highlighting some veteran-owned business or nonprofit. So their start, check them out, and also realize that not every veteran-owned business and not every veteran nonprofit says what it is. So you have to do your research. And if you don't know, ask somebody in that community, because some take most of the profits for themselves and give very little back. So you don't want to do the research yourself? I kind of give you a little like cliff notes of these are good businesses, good people. The money's kind of going back into the community. But the events, volunteer, do what's on your heart. Don't just sit back and give a presumption about veterans. Also, a lot of people think that veterans are broken. They're not broken. Veterans, you will learn the most from veteran podcasts, veteran businesses, veteran nonprofits, just listening, because they move at fast pace. You want to know what 10 years ahead of you is going to look like? They do it in 3 or 6 months. So open up your ears and listen. You're going to get more sound resources and skills and tools than you could from anything else. That's the biggest thing that I've learned is from my guests. I hear what they're saying. Sure, the stories that might be coming off are a little hard to hear. They might be gory. They might be very sad. But you will learn a lot if you shut your mouth and you listen and you start then applying what you hear from them. You'll be at a fast pace. You'll achieve all your desires very quickly.
Wow, that's amazing, man, and it's so true. I mean, some of the stories might not be pleasant to hear, but they are real, and people went through them and they overcame whatever it was. And now, what are some of the businesses? What are some of the type of businesses that they're running?
Oh, so one is my favorite. I just got my new background. In person, it's like so. This is Twisted Oak Flags. So this is a veteran business. Coffee, amazing coffee. But when you hear the story of who they are and why they do it, you're like, that's just not any other coffee. There's something behind it. And I'm a big believer. Hold on, I got to just give the 2 cents. That if you put your energy, including your money, into businesses that you don't know anything about or are bad people, that energy is going to trickle into you. So if you have that excuse, but I really like that restaurant, but I know the owner's an ass, you're going to start to become an ass. That black and white that you think you hold so dear becomes gray, and it's a very slow process. So I got to throw that out there.
Nice. So stay true to yourself.
Yeah. Coffee company, shirt company, socks company, marinades. I mean, you name it, they do it, but they put their heart and their soul into it. So whatever you're consuming, you know what? Your energy is different. Your energy level is different. The way you see and love life becomes completely different because you've surrounded yourself with like the purity of America, not just like here, I'm going to tell you I love you and I can do all this, but all I want is your money.
Nice. I love it, man. Good for you and good for them. I'm so glad that the vets are out there making it happen. And hopefully in this time of COVID, I mean, it's like 43% of all small businesses have been shut down. So it's a brutal time. So I'm hoping that, they've been able to get some funding or something or withstand what's happened the last few months, and hopefully things will start to get better nationwide.
Well, they have initiative, and they're like, okay, see, this is what I said, learn from them, listen to them, listen to the panels that I have, or other people, because they will tell you, none of them are laying down and saying, oh, poor me. They're adjusting, they're moving, they're making, they're coming out on top, because it's not going to stop them. You just have to change your course a little bit. Get out of your box, get out of your ego. A lot of them think that way.
I love it. Good for you. Any closing thoughts?
You know what, people, including myself, on a daily basis, look at who you are, know your truth, and then just stick to it. And don't listen to all the advice if it doesn't fit. If you get that ick feeling, brush it off. Great advice, but just not appropriate for you.
I love it. And that's how I felt. I got great advice from a lot of people, and it didn't feel appropriate. But when I got it from you, it sunk before I even got it. I mean, just a conversation with you was just more of a natural flow. And then I put it into action. And I like to joke with my girlfriend. I'll tell her, you met the love of your life in that ice cream store that day. And she goes, oh, I said, yeah, but, the problem was he was the guy behind me. You know what I mean? He was the guy behind me. You were off by a little bit. And she just laughs at me. You know what I mean? But I just took your advice. I utilized it. And so I'm grateful for that. And I'm sure all the people you're helping now, what you bring to the table is you're real, you're raw, and you're relatable, and you're authentic. You just bring it the way you see it and the way you feel it is. And it just has a different level of authenticity and purity. And that's it, man. I'm a big fan. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. And again, thank you for all you do for the vets, man.
Yeah. It's not just one person. It's the collaboration of so many, and just like being here with you today. It's fantastic. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Bye for now.